Welcome to this Florida Department of Transportation training. Identifying potential solutions to effects is part of a video series providing guidance for sociocultural effects evaluations for transportation projects. This training has two parts. The first part examines the hierarchy of solution types commonly used in transportation planning and project development. The second part provides considerations for problem solving and a general process for identifying acceptable solutions. Before that, I want to take a moment to mention the steps in the SCE evaluation process leading up to where we are now, which is Step 5, Recommend Ways to Resolve Issues. At this point, we will have compiled information about the project and community, and defined a study area for the evaluation, and identified and evaluated any direct, indirect, and cumulative effects on the human environment that could result from the project. Guidance on each step in the process is available on the SCE evaluation process webpage on the department's website, including on-demand videos like this one. The videos provide an overview of the SCE evaluation process, instructions on how to prepare for an evaluation, and assess potential effects, including specific considerations for the 6 SCE issues, and guidance on identifying solutions to effects and documenting the SCE evaluation results. To support the SCE evaluation process, the web page also has videos on performing project-level demographic analysis and environmental justice analysis. A key piece of the SCE evaluation process is generating potential solutions to community effects viewed by the community as problems. When addressing potential negative effects, there is a hierarchy of solution types to consider. The quest for a viable solution begins by first exploring avoidance opportunities, followed by measures to minimize the effect, and then by measures to mitigate the effect. While technically not a solution to an effect, enhancement is the fourth measure to be considered during project decision-making. In the next few slides, I will go over the definition for each solution type and provide examples related to community effects, starting with avoidance. Avoidance involves altering the project so the potential negative effect would not occur. This image shows the outcome of a road widening project designed to avoid a beloved oak tree. During the project evaluation, the project team learned about the tree's value to area residents, and consensus was reached on a solution. Avoidance measures could include shifting the project alignment, adjusting the project cross-section, or giving greater consideration to a project alternative that would not impact the valued resource. If it is determined that no acceptable avoidance alternative exists, the next solution type to explore is minimization. Minimization is defined as modifying the project to reduce the severity of the effect. A noise wall is an example of minimization. The wall in this photo is intended to minimize noise from the adjacent road to a level that would not be harmful to nearby residents. Another type of minimization measure is modifying a project to reduce the amount of land needed for right-of-way acquisition. This approach could minimize impacts to roadside businesses or homes and lessen the degree of visual change in the area. Another example of a minimization solution is timing construction to coincide with the off-season for tourism. If avoidance or minimization of a potential effect are not viable or acceptable, we look next to solutions involving mitigation. Mitigation is performing an action that alleviates or offsets the effect. Mitigation may be viewed as compensation for an adversely affected resource that cannot be avoided or minimized. An example of a mitigation solution is replacing an at-grade trail crossing with a bridge where the project would have otherwise affected the safety and convenience of trail users. Other mitigation examples related to effects on the human environment include replacing affected resources such as parkland, sidewalks, or street trees, financial compensation for a displaced community facility, and measures to maintain the aesthetic integrity of the area. Mitigation measures should be reasonably equivalent in terms of value and function of the impacted resource. Enhancement is the last solution type in the hierarchy. Enhancement involves adding a desirable feature to make the project a better fit within its context. When a negative project effect cannot be avoided, minimized, or mitigated, project enhancements should be considered. Some examples of enhancements to help a project blend more harmoniously within the community fabric include creating a landscape gateway into the community, adding architectural details to structures, installing a multi-use trail, roadside path, or transit shelters, providing public art within the project right-of-way, and placing signs recognizing significant cultural or historical resources. For more information on locating enhancements within the state right-of-way, review Chapter 9 of the Department's Plans Preparation Manual. Now that we have covered the solution types for addressing the effects of transportation projects, let's move on to the next part of the training. When the sociocultural effects evaluation reveals the potential for negative community effects, we transition from problem identification mode to problem-solving mode. In the sociocultural effects evaluation process, problem-solving can be broken down into 4 actions: inventory effects, identify goals, develop strategies, and recommend solutions in collaboration with affected communities. We begin problem-solving by listing all of the potential project effects that were identified in Step 4 of the sociocultural effects evaluation process. List both positive and negative effects corresponding to the 6 sociocultural effects issues. Using community input received, including any from previous project evaluations, note community perceptions about the effects. From the list of negative effects, take each and restate it as a positive future condition or goal. For example, the project will make crossings by pedestrians difficult could be stated as safe and convenient pedestrian crossings in key locations. This generates a goal statement that will help later when you are measuring the effectiveness of your problem-solving strategies. Next, begin devising strategies aimed at resolving the negative effects. Consider any strategies identified in prior technical studies or evaluations of the project, what you have learned about the project context, affected community groups, and the severity of effects, and the range of solution types. This should help stimulate a range of strategy ideas. Also keep in mind that strategies should be proportionate to the potential level of impact on the affected community. Strategies will differ in character and detail depending on the project phase. In the planning phase, strategies are typically associated with further investigation of the issues and potential solutions later during project development. Planning phase strategies may call for targeted public involvement or focused technical study of effects and potential solutions. Suggestions for avoidance, minimization, mitigation, or enhancement measures can be made in planning, but commitments for such are not typical at this early stage in the project. If a potential dispute is identified in the planning phase, recommended approaches to resolving the dispute may be included in the SCE evaluation. In the project development phase, strategies may be in the form of new or revised project features or alternative project alignments that emerge from public outreach or technical study. When developing strategies, consider the characteristics and relationships among project effects. Some effects may be viewed as positive and negative depending on the point of view. For example, a new expressway interchange could bring more traffic and noise to a neighborhood, while its residents would enjoy increased mobility and accessibility to important destinations. These instances in particular require outreach in the affected communities to hear their opinions on pros, cons, and cures as appropriate. Another type of relationship to consider is that among multiple effects, including with past effects or those that are foreseeable from future actions. Effects, when layered in certain locations, can increase the severity of impact on the community. Strategies developed to address those effects should match the level of impact. Also consider that strategies may have synergies beyond their intended purpose. Like project effects, a strategy to address an effect can also be perceived as positive and negative. When devising strategies, consider how the strategy might create other negative effects. For instance, a wall constructed to reduce project noise levels in a neighborhood could also present a barrier to walking or biking. One strategy could compete with another strategy's positive outcome, or possibly address multiple effects or community objectives. An example of this would be new crosswalks to support pedestrian mobility that also work in favor of community cohesion and accessibility to a nearby shopping district. How project effects and their solutions are characterized in a given context should involve people who live, work, govern, and otherwise interact in that environment. Engaging affected communities in problem solving brings multiple frames of reference into the process to expose issues and opportunities, which can lead to more context-sensitive solutions. To the greatest extent feasible, projects should be planned, designed, constructed, and maintained to be context-sensitive. Context-sensitive solutions take into account the project purpose, including safety and mobility needs, the context, and community preferences to seek balance between the project objectives and local values and priorities. Context-sensitive solutions are tailored to the context, are compatible with the local vision, values, and policies, are proactive, collaborative, and interdisciplinary, and are built on consensus. For more information on context-sensitive solutions, refer to Part 1, Chapter 9 of the Department's Project Management Handbook. And finally, to be viable, strategies must be practicable, that is, available and capable of being done, taking into consideration consistency with the project purpose and community preferences, feasibility in terms of monetary and other cost, technical aspects, and logistics, and superiority relative to cost to resolve the effect for other project alternatives. Involve technical experts from the project team and local agencies, and the community, prior to recommending final solutions. These considerations are most applicable to the project development phase when solutions become more detailed and commitments are made. Review the identified strategies based on effectiveness in resolving effects, context sensitivity, and practicability, and eliminate those that do not meet these tests. From the remaining strategies, recommend which should be considered further in the project decision-making process. This concludes the training on identifying potential solutions to effects. If you have questions about the SCE evaluation process, please contact Dr. Rusty Endemoser, State Public Involvement and Community Resources Coordinator. Additional resources and guidance are available on the Department's SCE evaluation process webpage. Links to resources referenced in this video are listed on the following slide. Thank you for viewing this production of the Florida Department of Transportation.